Hi, this is Hung back again. Now, I would like you to do this quick exercise. It's going to take you less than 1 minute, but it will surprise you. Okay, as you have already noticed, this is a Vietnamese grammar exercise. So, what do you think? You did it very quickly without thinking, didn't you? Can you explain why you chose your answer but not the others? Do you know which grammar rule it follows? Maybe not. But how could you just do it and still be very sure that you are right? If you think about it, you will see that you didn't really think of any grammar rules when you were doing the exercise. You just had some feeling like it sounds right, or it sounds okay, or it sounds familiar. This is what you want to develop as you learn English. You need to practice so that you finally have a sense of correct grammar. Why is it important to an English learner? Because once you have successfully developed the sense of grammar, you can immediately and properly understand what the other person really means. Let's take a look at these two sentences. I was going to marry her versus I'm going to marry her. See, I was going to do something is so different from I am going to do something. Different grammar structures can give very different meanings, and that's the first reason. Second, once you develop the sense of grammar, you won't have to think too much about grammar rules as you speak. That helps you speak much more fluently and comfortably. And third, not everyone needs this, but if you have to do an English grammar exercise, you can do it very quickly, just like you did the above Vietnamese exercises. How cool is that? Okay, but how to develop that sense? How to create the feelings of it sounds right or it sounds familiar, as we mentioned above? The answer is inside the question. Every time we learn grammar, we need to learn more with our ears and mouth. I mean, we learn more with sounds, not just texts and text. If you look at babies, you can see how they learn grammar. Every time they say a wrong sentence, their parents correct the sentence. And oftentimes, the kids repeat the correct sentence. Over time, they develop a sense of correct grammar. Then they know if a sentence is correct just based on the feeling. Now, look at how we adults learn grammar. We look at the text, then we think about grammar rules, and then try to figure out which grammar rule applies. Then we write down the answers. Then we check the correct answers by looking at the key. The problem here is we use our eyes too much. We learn solely by text. We're trying to learn a language by looking at a lot of signs. Do you see the problem here? Language was formed not by text. It was created by sounds. In learning a language, our mouth and ears are more important than our eyes. So to develop the feelings, it sounds familiar or it sounds right, you need to add some more steps when you study grammar. They are speaking and listening to grammar. With a typical grammar exercise, you can follow these steps. Read out loud. the answer you are thinking about. Remember to read the whole sentence, not merely the answer. Then listen to the key instead of looking at the key. I will talk about this concept later, but now just let me describe all the steps. Next, you can note down the key if you want to, because I know many books place the keys at the end of the books, and it's not very convenient checking them back and forth. But don't take note of the blanks, because you will need them for the last step. Once you have done the whole exercise, start reading out loud the whole exercise without looking at the key. Please note that all the blanks are still there, not being filled with answers as instructed in the previous step. This is what I call doing grammar exercises verbally. It's very simple yet effective because it helps you get familiar with the correct sentences, such as using proper verb forms in different tenses or different subjects, and it helps you develop the feelings of whether a sentence sounds right or not. Now, let's get back to the concept listening to the key. We do this to imitate the way we learn our mother tongue when we're a kid. That means every time we say something incorrectly in terms of grammar, our parents will correct us. I found that most grammar books out there don't support audios for the exercises. That's why I have created an online grammar course with audios recorded by native speakers. With this online course, you can check an answer by clicking the audio button to listen to the native teacher's voice reading the correct sentence. Another option is to study with a friend of yours. So two of you study together and one person reads the correct answer and the other person does the exercise. I know it's not very convenient, but it's better than nothing. In short, do grammar exercises verbally instead of just sitting and writing in silence. Remember to speak out loud. Doing grammar exercise in a noisy way will help you build up a sense towards grammar. Okay, we've just talked about an important concept, getting a feel for the proper structures and how to develop that kind of feeling. In the next few minutes, I want to talk about another very important thing. Listen to this part closely because it will give you the right attitude toward English learning in general and English grammar learning in particular. Maybe you don't know this, but grammar is one of the two main reasons why many English learners quit early. And the other one is vocabulary. Yes, many people are frustrated when they get to a grammar point that they don't understand, especially when the teacher has already tried to explain it more than once. As a result, they stop learning. The pity is that it's not the learner's fault. Most of us don't know that there are two reasons why grammar sometimes is very difficult to understand. Reason number one, grammar is an imperfect logical system. What does it mean? To some extent, it's logical, but it's not totally logical. There are always cases that do not follow any rule, and no one can explain why. And reason number two languages, for example, English and Vietnamese, have many things in common. However, there's still a large percentage which is not in common. When we study an English structure, we often explain the structure by comparing it to a Vietnamese structure. Let's take a look at an example. I am doing something. We tend to compare this structure with tôi đang làm gì đó in Vietnamese. Now the problem is these two structures are not fully parallel. For example, the sentence tôi đang ăn tối does mean I am having dinner, but I am working tomorrow does not mean tôi đang đi làm ngày mai. So problems like this confuse us. I have come up with a conclusion. Most of us, even the smartest people, cannot immediately and fully understand a grammar point just by looking at the theory with one or two examples. We can only be clear and fully clear about it after approaching that structure in a decent number of various contexts and examples. Therefore, there are two things you should note down. Number one, learning grammar theory is not as important as practicing a lot of grammar exercises and or getting a lot of input, i.e. reading and listening a lot. After practicing grammar and getting input intensively, you will be much clearer about when to use what. And second, most successful English learners are those who tend to accept what they do not yet understand. They tend to take things easy and be optimistic. Every time they face an unanswered question, instead of being stuck, they tend to leave it there and move forward. And at some point down the road, those questions will be unveiled. This partly explains why young learners tend to be more successful, because they tend to take things easier and move forwards, while elders tend to get stuck with every unanswered question. Now, you may know the right attitude to set. Every time you have a question unanswered, you can ask your friend or your teacher, but if it's still vague, just leave it there. Just leave it there. Don't worry about it, because it will be clear sooner or later, as long as you don't stop and keep moving forward. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you like this video. We'll meet again, but until then, take action. Do something. Let's sparkle today, and tomorrow you'll be shining.